Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. Today, it's a strategy session edition. So this is for those of you who are not necessarily setting up this stuff, but maybe you need to use it from time to time. And we're going to talk about using GA4, that is Google Analytics 4, analysis reports. Welcome. If this is your first Workshop Wednesday, my name is Chris Mercer. Though everybody calls me Mercer, you should as well. I'm the co-founder of measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us through the podcast and talks that we're out there giving, or through maybe some of the content that we've shared with other platforms like CXL Institute, Digital Marketers, Social Media Examiner, or even Measure Summit, maybe you're already a member, whether a Measurement Marketing Academy member or even a free toolbox member from measurementmarketing.io. Happy to have you here, however you found us. It's our job to help people like you learn how to use all these tools. And of course, today we're going to talk about GA4. Now, we are going to run through the measurement marketing framework because remember, this is an important step that no matter what, you should have in your own organization. 3 key steps: plan, build, and act. Why do we do that? Because we all start marketing in the blind. We're trying to get to the point where we can our marketing is predictably growing revenue and increasing our profits. And we need this plan, build, act, measurement framework to actually go through and do that. So planning, remember, it's all about asking the right questions, collecting the information to get those answers, and ultimately what actions will we take based upon the answers we get. Once we have that, we move into build, where we start using tools like GA4 to measure traffic and then record results and ultimately tie those two things together in a way that structures a story. At that point, we just have to read the story that now exists. That gives us our benchmarks. Then we can forecast based upon what's been happening in the past. We can start to forecast our near future, and then we measure against our forecasts. That's what tells us what to optimize, what's working and what's not. And that is how we get to this point where we can predictably grow revenue and profits. So that is the measurement marketing framework. Now, with all of these trainings, remember, just one thing is all we're trying to get. There's a lot to some of this stuff, especially with these analysis reports, because they're very, very new. So if you are just starting out, especially if you're just starting out, remember, you don't need to hang on to every single thing. It's not going to be a quiz at the end of this. You don't need to know every single thing we cover here. Just practice one new thing, one new skill, then come back, rewatch this workshop. That's why we make them available for you. And then you'll pick up another new one thing. That's how we build skills, one step at a time. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Strategy session using GA4 analysis reports. All right, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in, as we always do, and we're going to pull up GA4. So this is what GA4 looks like for those that are not using it yet. You should. Remember, this is the newest of the new platforms from Google Analytics. It is completely different than Universal Analytics, the one that you might already be using. And you use both right now. So you don't stop using Universal Analytics. You just start using Google Analytics 4. And it's important to get it set up. And right now, we're recording this right toward the end of May 2021, May 26th, technically. But this is the part of where GA4, you start playing around with it. You learn this platform. You start experiencing some of these reports and get used to it because it's completely different. It will take you some time, and especially your team, if you're not the one actually doing the implementation, it's going to take your team some time to get the implementation in here and get the information that you need. So start using this platform if you haven't already. Eventually, and I would say probably by the end of 2021, early 2022, you should have your organization set up so that GA4 is your main source of truth when it comes to the marketing results that you're getting. Okay, so let's talk about a specific part of GA4. And we have other workshops in GA4, so be sure to check those out. Academy members, check out Win Google Analytics 4 Basics. It'll talk to you all about setting all this stuff up and what everything means here. We're going to go into a part that are really just for the strategist primarily, because as a strategist, you will be coming into a platform like GA4 not necessarily to look at a bunch of reports, but you're going to try to answer questions. And the biggest question you're going to answer is, why is something happening? That's a huge difference with GA4. GA4 was built to answer why questions. And the regular Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, is built to answer what questions. In other words, what's happened. That's the regular Google Analytics. GA4 is all about why something happened. And they created this whole analysis section to help us answer those questions. So once we've gone through, let's say we use Google Analytics and maybe you're using Data Studio Report and you see a dashboard, and it's your job as the strategist of the company to figure out like what's going on, what actions should we be taking, and you have a funnel report or something that's popping up, and you want to be able to figure out what's going on. You come into these analysis reports. So in GA4, click onto Analysis under the Explore tab here. You've got Analysis Hub and the Template Gallery. I'm really just going to focus on the Analysis Hub here because the Template Gallery will grow. It's just examples of templates that are available for you. I like the idea of templates as an inspiration, but we really would recommend that you don't just copy somebody else's template, because a lot of times those were created to answer somebody else's questions, not specifically yours. And so it's always better to create something from scratch, at least in my opinion, to create something from scratch so that you can get answers to the questions. So we come into Analysis Hub, you can see automatically, it gives you some examples like, hey, here's the stuff that's here. Obviously a link to the template gallery here as well. If you click on this, you can see the different options that you have and types of the different reports. This is a big difference in, and I'm just clicking on the user lifetime report here. It's a big difference in how universal analytics is, because these sort of give you these very generalized versions of different styles of reports specifically for analysis. Now, right away, and if you're like me, you're a strategy person, you don't need to see a bunch of numbers and stuff like that. And this automatically looks really, really geeky. And it is. It's very, very googly. But remember, this is for a lot of the data scientists and data analysts out there who are asking for a platform that can do a lot more. That's what GA4 is built. It's built for them. Now, as a strategist, it's important that you understand what's back here. Doesn't mean that you have to be the one necessarily setting all this up, but you have to know what's possible so you can work with your teams to say, hey, listen, I know this analysis report called user lifetime. I want one set up that shows me the user lifetime for whatever the traffic source is that you're interested in finding, et cetera, et cetera. And then they can set it up. But if you don't know that that's even possible, you'll never ask for it. That's why we're creating a strategy session, just to show you this stuff. So here you've got a user lifetime report. Again, this is always going to be based on the quality of the data coming in. So if you don't have e-commerce set up, if you don't have details coming through with purchases, you're not going to have any dollars and cents coming through, right? So just make sure you have that set up. And if there's nothing there and you want something like this is where you work with your implementation team and say, hey, you know what? It's time we start really building out GA4. Again, just to emphasize, as of we are recording this on May 26, 2021, do not stop using Universal Analytics. It's a yes and. You still use regular Universal Analytics, and you also now start using GA4. Because it's going to take you some time to get used to it, because you can see how radically different it is. Now, all of these reports, and we're just using this example of the user lifetime report they have set up here. All of these reports essentially have the same parts and pieces, which is there's this main display here that displays the report itself. You can create different tabs and open up other reports, so you can create a whole little section for yourself here. You have variables. So let's click on this. We have our variables. This is the sort of things of like, okay, what are the things I'm sorting by, right? So in this case, you can create segments. We've got different dimensions to pull up, etc. And then you have the settings specific to the tab that you're looking at. So of course, depending upon whatever the type of report it is, will change the settings that are available for it. So you can see here, I know I'm using the user lifetime report because of this drop down here. If I go to create a new tab, I have the option of creating other reports, other report styles, other analyses. And then I also here, I can do this. I can change this one and say, okay, we're going to do a cohort analysis. Cohort analysis, again, just a fancy term for groups, managing groups. Now, I would not recommend you are good to be the person as a strategist of your company to come in here and start playing around with setting these up, because can be a little complicated. Let's face it. There's a lot of moving pieces back here. And if you start switching reports, I just want to see this as a cohort, or I want to see this as a path analysis, or I want to see this as whatever, you'll see that it kind of can blank out, right? It can kind of do its best guess to show you some stuff, but sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's because it's using this initial setup. What I would recommend is when you're first starting out and learning this, and that's what this is for. This is not to make you an expert in these reports. It's to give you some familiarity with these reports so you can have a conversation with your implementation team. When you come into Analysis Hub, this is always what I would do. Come in through these until you create your own. When you create your own, you'll see these down here. Right? They automatically show them all this. But when you come in and you want to see like, oh, okay, well, let's go through the cohort report. You see the last time we switched it from user lifetime to cohort, it was blank. There was nothing there. But if I click on cohort report here, it sort of fills it with an initial thing for you to get started with, right? This will be easier for you plus your team. And this is why, again, cohort report, just groups, right? Managing groups of individuals coming through. It's perfect if you want to say like, well, how many members that came in through a specific period of time, and then what the result over time was, right? For that group. This is what cohorts are really good at. And there are some powerful reports that are back here. Now, remember, in this training, it's not about becoming an expert and building a cohort report, because as a strategist, honestly, you shouldn't be doing that. Somebody else in your team should be doing that. But as a strategist, you have to know that GA4 absolutely allows cohort reporting, and that you can build it pretty granularly. It's much different than Universal Analytics. So in Universal Analytics, there was a kind of a generic cohort report. It was very limited, to be honest, to the point where it wasn't all that useful. This one, not so much. You can do a lot with it. And so this is where you start really working with the implementation team and say, hey, I know there's a cohort report, and I want to know what certain members did over time, or certain people that achieved a certain goal maybe. what else did they achieve? Another result they achieved over time, right? And so that's what cohort of reports allow you to do. I'm going to flip through the analysis reports here quickly just to kind of give you an introduction to all of them so you can see them here. We're going to go back to the analysis hub, which again I recommend. You can always start blank, but remember, all blank is just choosing one of these anyway. So I like building from something that already is in existence because it gives you immediately an eyeball view. I'm going to click on the exploration report here. It gives you that eyeball view where you go, oh, okay, this is exactly what I want, or no, it's not at all what I want. Now, this exploration report, this is the closest you will ever get to a regular report that you're probably used to in Google Analytics. If you've ever gone into Universal Analytics and you see the reports, they literally call them Explorer reports. It's kind of like this. This is an exploration report. Dimensions, metrics, right? Broken down, pretty simple stuff. You can, build out and change whatever you need. There's your, rows and columns and the values for everything that you want to put through here. Obviously, you can change and do different mapping and everything else. Again, not a tutorial. This is not here to design this because I don't think it should be your job to do this, but it should be your job to know that you can create an Explorer report that shows, in this case, active users by country. You should know that you can create a trending report. So you have the timeline series. You should know that you could do the pie charts if that's what's going to help you, for the little donut chart here. So you can have that. Know that these options are available. I think this is a scatter point. So we have this too, right? So you have all of these different things that you can set and you can start using. This is important for you as a strategist. If you do not know this is available to you, you'll never ask for it. If you don't ask for it, the implementation team probably won't provide it to you. So this is where it's important for you, again, as a strategist to understand, okay, I've got this report that will help me explore dimensions broken down by metrics, right? In this case, breakdown of city. This is the dimension. The value is users, right? This is dimension metric, right? That's all it is, breakdowns and values, dimensions and metrics. So, and of course, you can filter it down by whatever, specific traffic source or whatever else. But just know that this stuff is possible. Now, next up, that's Explorer reports. Let's go into taking a look at the next reports. This is the one I think you will use the most. This is the one I am personally the most excited about because, man, I've been waiting a long time for a good funnel report in Google Analytics. I hope you have too. They finally nailed it for sure when it comes to funnels. Now, the way that this works is you can define in GA4, a very big difference in GA4 is everything is an event in GA4. So they have first open as an event, organic visitor is an event, session start is an event, screen page view is an event, purchase is an event, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these different events. So what's nice is with a funnel, you'll notice that it changes, right? Look, this funnel needs steps because it's a funnel report, and you can literally put in the different stages and steps. So if I want to see who was the first open, then was organic, then started a session, then saw a page view, then made a purchase, and you can see, this is just the default that they've set up. You can see the breakdowns coming through here. So what's nice about these funnel reports is if you forgot, for whatever reason, this used to be like in Universal Analytics, if you forgot to create a funnel, you were out of luck because you would create the funnel and then that funnel visualization report would start populating the second that you actually created the funnel. And if your traffic's already run through the funnel a bunch, you missed it all, right? It's really hard to find those details. With this, it's different. So I can go back. In fact, I'm going to try this very quickly here. I'm going to go back. I'm just going to take out some of the steps. And let's say we have a page view. And then I'm going to add another step in here. You can see how this works, right? Pretty self-explanatory, but a geeky interface for sure. But if it's like, okay, step one, screen page view, followed by a purchase, I'm going to change this to lead instead. So if I wanted to come in, let's see if I can quickly find this. Generate lead. So we generate leads. So now we're going to call this and say lead. And then I'm just going to apply. So I kind of have a two-step funnel that I'm very quickly creating. One is they saw any page essentially, right? Which is defined as any screen view or page view. And then indirectly, which means sometime later, followed by in that same session, a lead, right? And this is what is really cool about this. Within 5 minutes, if I wanted to. So I can see who actually came and then very quickly completed the event, which is really nice, right? This is the thing that I want you to explore these. Again, your job as a strategist is not to understand how to build all of these reports, but it's to know what's possible. You have to know that because if you don't know that you can do this within time, say, oh, I want them to complete the funnel within a period of time. Maybe that's how the funnel was built. Maybe the funnel wasn't designed to be built in 6 months to be completed. But this particular funnel, which in our case it is, to become a lead, is really built to happen within 5 minutes because it's pretty much go to the toolbox page and become a member. It's right. It should happen within 5 minutes. So now I'm starting to see a breakdown of that group. And I can see everybody that came in that saw any page. Remember, this is kind of global. So it'd be anybody that saw any page, including existing members or whatever else. But then of those, how many people actually became a specific lead gen. And of course, I can further break this down and say, I just want to see people who saw this specific page, or maybe saw the home page and then this specific page and then became a lead. You can just keep adding steps, right? Add and adjust. But it retros, right? Meaning it goes back in your data to your existing data set and it builds the funnel kind of from scratch. So now you don't have to worry about making sure you have a funnel done ahead of time and set up so that before traffic hits. You can just build the funnel no matter what, whenever you want, which is really nice. This, by far, my favorite report. Now they've got standard and trended funnels to go into as well, so you can kind of get an idea of what your trending is in terms of a completion rate, which is really nice to see. Are my conversion rates going up? My conversion rates going down? But really cool. Open funnel just makes it so that other people can come in at different stages and steps. It's kind of really the idea behind that. But again, know what's possible is really all this workshop is about for you as a strategist. And then of course we have got time. I can even see time coming through. So come back here, play with stuff. Don't worry about breaking anything, because GA4 right now as a company probably should not yet be using it entirely as your production platform, but it should have some data back here already. And if it doesn't, if you aren't using GA4 yet, as a strategist in your organization, this is the time you start raising up the flares, saying, okay, this has got some cool stuff. I need to be able to start playing with this and get my learning on. And in order for me to learn from this, I need somebody to set this stuff up and then work with your teams to get it set up. But this funnel analysis, super cool. Absolutely my favorite one back here. Next up, let's go back into the analysis hub. My second favorite is the path analysis. The path analysis is very similar in style to what the flow reports were in Universal Analytics. So the path reports show kind of who, again, by event, right? Everything's an event. So it's like you just define your events. There's the node types coming through here and you can set up your events. But it will say, okay, people that did this, and then of those people, right, as we click into it, I'm just going to keep that set the same. On the stages here, as it comes through, you can see, okay, of the 8415 that came through, okay, 7500 did this, and then 1300 of those were a new session, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the idea on the path analysis. It's kind of like the flow reports. Again, my second favorite report, because it shows flow through a particular path, and you might find some places where it's like, oh, I didn't realize people were actually going through and doing this, particular thing. Again, I just clicked on it to see, oh, what's the extra stuff they're doing? Oh, I didn't realize they were going through here. They're creating these events. Oh, that's unexpected. Let's go see if that should happen. And that's an opportunity, right? So maybe it should happen and it's great, or it's something that was an unexpected result that we should expand upon, or maybe fix. Maybe it's a leak where people are creating an event that's unexpected. So that all of that stuff you can see in your path reports coming through here. I don't think a path report is the first place to start. I think a funnel report is the first place for you to start, but know that path reports are back here. If you are not recording the different behaviors, see this click, generate lead, video start, video view search results, purchase. These are all events, behavioral events that users are doing in this case on the measuremarketing.io site. If you're not recording these events like scroll or whatever else, you cannot build funnels from them. You cannot build path reports from them. So this is why the quality of what you can do with these analysis reports is directly related to how good your implementation is. That's why it's important to make sure that you're getting started with GA4 now. Okay, so let's go into the next one. We talked about the Explorer reports, kind of the normal ones, the exploration reports, the ones you're kind of used to. Funnel analysis, path analysis. Now, segment overlap. This is a good one for like Venn diagram sort of stuff where it's here's mobile versus desktop. You can see that's the default they actually have set up here. So we can see mobile versus desktop, in this case, broken down by age groups coming through. So again, how do you do this? Pretty simple. They built this for us. This wasn't something that existed. This is already built. This is already built on your end too, technically. You can come in here and get the data that's here just as a sample. And you can see I'm comparing mobile versus tablet and this age 25 to 54 group. Kind of a cool thing, right? So you can see overlaps of age versus device type. If I don't want the age group, take it out. And then I'll build this with just the overlaps of mobile versus traffic, or mobile versus tablet in this case. If I want to add in another segment, I can. So come in here and add in other segments as they come through, including things like desktop or whatever else that I wanted to do. So pretty cool things that you can do with the Venn diagram. If you're ever trying to see two groups and how much they overlap, that's what this report is about. So purchasers that use mobile or whatever else. So that's the sort of stuff that you can look at in this type of report. Okay, let's go into the final report. So now we've already seen the cohort analysis. We've already seen user lifetime. Again, like it says, user lifetime is my least favorite, to be honest, because it is hard. That is everyone talks about LTV. But it is really hard. And I honestly don't know if analytics is going to be the best platform for user lifetime value. It probably won't be accurate in the A word. I don't like using accurate as an A word because nothing's accurate. But I don't even know if it probably gives you good trending. But I don't know that I would trust the actual dollars and cents amount back here because it's so dependent upon what you send into GA4. If you're not sending in rebuilds, for example, your user lifetime is not going to reflect those because GA4 doesn't know about those. So I like it. I think it's cool, but you can take it with a big spoonful of salt. Cohort analysis, I think, is useful because you can break it down by various groups over time for certain results that they're achieving. I think that is a useful report. But let's end up with the user explorer itself. This is, I think this is probably my least useful. I like the idea of trending, but it's better, to be honest, I get information from the cart systems and things like that for LTV and velocity return, things like that. But the user explorer is also sort of, I'm not a huge fan of this one because it's too specific, which I know sounds weird, but it's like, hey, if you are using user ID, it's one of the best things about GA4. It automatically, if you're using user ID, which these are user ID that we've set up, we can see that. This is the GA4 version of the Google Analytics Client ID. So it automatically uses user ID, which is fantastic. Again, you have to set it up that way, but it's great to be able to do that. But what happens is if I come in here and I explore a user, it then shows me, and this is very similar to Universal Analytics. They have a report that's like this. And it shows, oh, here's what this user did. They were from the Philippines and they've done all this stuff. And here's the events that they're doing. And that's all well and good. But honestly, how useful is that? I personally don't think it is, not from a strategy perspective. Because when you go fishing, you don't want to go and figure out where all the fish are all the time because it's too freaking hard to fish. What you need to do is figure out where most of the fish are most of the time. And that's where you know to throw your hook in the water. So yeah, I get the idea. I think this is more eye candy personally. I don't think this is particularly useful coming through. I guess it could be to some extent if you wanted to track an individual user, but again, I just don't think that's really, it gets to the point of like, just because you know what one user did, in other words, just because you know how one fish moved through the lake or through the river, doesn't mean all fish are going to move through the lake or river in that way. So again, this one, I like it. I think it's cool that, you can do things like this. I just don't think it's particularly useful on a day-to-day basis. But again, know that it's back here. And especially if you're testing something and you have a specific user ID for yourself and you want to see if events are coming through, I think it's great for that. Marketing, I don't know. I don't really think it's great for making major marketing decisions. There's other analysis reports that are better, including, again, funnel and path, mostly funnel. Super excited about funnel. I think in order, you probably use this one first, this one second, this one third. And then maybe you'll start doing some segment reports, and maybe some of you will do cohort reports because they get a little more complicated to build out. But wanted you at least to see that and understand what's back here so that you as a strategist have an understanding of what's possible and the types of questions you can start asking. Because the whole thing is to answer why. Why is this happening? Why did my funnel break down? Well, how many people scrolled through the pages? Let's build a quick little funnel and see if that's the issue. And you can have your team build that. You can take a look at it. Right? Maybe there's a funnel, there's a leak where people aren't going from step 1 to step 2 like you thought they were. Well, let's build a path analysis and see, maybe we can figure out what's going on. Maybe they're going to someplace else that we didn't realize and they're causing some other behavioral event. Path analysis report. Maybe, are mobile people buyers or not, right? We can see that with segment overlap. So it's like that. That's the sort of stuff that you can do. Super, super important to be able to take a look at that and wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. With that, we'll go ahead and bring this to a close. What was your one thing? Remember, the idea is not that you're going to be an expert in building all of analysis reports because it's not enough time to cover that. We'll, of course, have workshops in the future on all of that stuff. But as a strategist, your one thing really should be, okay, this is possible. How could I use a funnel report? How might I use a segment report? How might I use a path report? How might I use the Explorer report? What types of questions would I be asking? And do we have the information in GA4 that we can now build these reports because the information's there? If the information's not there, you can't build the reports. So you got to make sure that's where you would start, is building the information out first and make sure your team is starting to use GA4. Now, next week, we're going to talk about the latest Google updates and features released in May 2021. We always like going back over the last 30 days or so and figuring out what all the latest, greatest changes were to Google Analytics and Tag Manager and Data Studio. That's what we will cover next week. If you want to make sure you get that workshop, just subscribe. Take a second to subscribe now. You can click the bell to be notified. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, YouTube will send you out a little notice that says, hey, they're not broadcasting live. This is now available. Go get it. And you can get caught up on the latest and greatest because that's our What's New edition that we do the first workshop of every month. Now, the other way that you can get that is the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. It is completely free. It includes the workshops. You also get Of course, the includes the current workshop, I should say, and you also get all of the different tools, measurement marketing tools that are back there. There's like 40 tools. There's so much more that's back here than this. This is completely free. Measure.tips/WW will get you there. There is also the Measurement Marketing Academy. So that is our flagship product. I definitely encourage you to take a look at that. The reason that we built it was to help you do this, to help you go through and figure out what are the right questions to ask. What information will I need? What action should I take? How do I know my who, what, and why when it comes to traffic? How do I know what my results are? How do I structure it together so it tells a story? How do I read reports so I actually get something useful from them for a change? How do I use that information to build forecasts? And ultimately, how do I optimize based upon the numbers that I'm getting? What do I do with them to make them better? This is the whole point of the Measurement Marketing Academy, to walk you through this process and to help you out. We've got a ton of courses and workshops no matter where you start. Now, a quick little tour I will give you here as we go through, for those that are not familiar with the Academy itself. When you come into the Academy, you'll basically see these 6 blocks that are here. So when you come into these 6 blocks, they're broken out in different sections for you. This one just manage accounts, so it's pretty basic, not a big deal there. But the win courses here, this is the section with all the different courses. They're organized by date, so you can just get caught up if there's ever an update, like there was in fact, this month. We did the update for Google Tag Manager Beyond Basics. Otherwise, you have them broken down by topics. So there's analytics courses, including Google Analytics 4 Basics, Tag Manager, dashboards and reporting, measurement strategy, where you can learn all sorts of stuff about how to optimize or how to forecast, etc. So you have all of these different courses that are back there. You also have on-demand workshops. This is the one that is the free one. This includes the workshop that you're now watching actually. But as an Academy member, you also get access to all of these, which is the archive of all of the edited workshops. It's all the workshops with this stuff taken out, to be honest. It's got zoom effects. They've been edited. They've been focused, what we call student editions. So you can go through here and get caught up. Again, organized by edition, the what's new, getting started, beyond basics, or strategy session, plus searchable. So you can come in here, pop in whatever the goal is that you're looking for and say, oh, I'm looking for how to set goals. The system will go through, search the entire library, and pull up all of the workshops that relate to goals, also the courses that relate to goals. So just a benefit that you have as an Academy member to have this on-demand library that's there so you can get answers and hopefully get unstuck and on the way. Now, that is win courses and the on-demand workshops. You will have questions. So how do you get those answered? There's Winner Circle, which kind of looks like this. It's where people pop in questions and updates and answers, and they can ask each other. The reason that we do this is because, to be honest, we're not always the expert in all things. We're just really good at the measurement side of things. But we may not be great at Google Ads or running Facebook traffic or technical SEO, but other members are. So people ask each other for help there, and that's where that ends up. So the Winner Circle is a community you would have access to as an Academy member. So there's the Winner Circle there. You also have access to the Toolbox. Again, this is also free. So for the Toolbox members, you also have access to this, but Academy members have access to the Get It Done guides. So this is a new section that we're adding up, so you can actually see it comes with templates and videos and everything to create certain things. So once you learn all the skills that you're going to need as a measurement marketer, whether it's the strategy end or the implementation end, this is where you can start putting stuff together. So we're making little project, like craft kits is kind of what this is. For example, our first one was doing the Eyes on the Journey report. So you can use that. Finally, ask an instructor support when you need help. This is my favorite part. I personally think this is worth everything of the Academy, is when you come in here, you can ask an instructor. It's not just watch a bunch of videos, hope it works, and then maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's okay. Sometimes they're not going to work. Let's face it. Your tech stack might be different than what we're showing on the video. So you might have a question. Maybe GA4 does a quick update, doesn't look quite the same. So you have a quick question. You're going to need help. All you do is come in to Ask Instructor Support, click Ask a Question, pop in your question and your main question here, and then details of that question. Send screenshots and videos. We love screenshots and videos. Our instructors look at those. Kind of like if you virtually called over somebody to your workstation and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to figure out. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to get this goal working. It's not quite firing. Or I'm trying to look at this dashboard and I'm not quite sure what it's trying to tell me here. How would you improve it? Anything like that, strategy or implementation, our instructors can help you get unstuck and on the way and give you feedback. 9 times out of 10, they send over screenshots and videos as well. So you can, get all that here. And of course, you have everything contained in a nice little section for you. So you've got all of your questions answered and you've got a nice little reference library that you've built, but it's quite literally like having a consultant there for you to be able to help out. Typically, answers come within 24 business hours. That's sort of the goal that we have for that. Popular question we've been asked: how fast do we get Ask Instructor Support? And is it unlimited? Totally unlimited. So that's what that is. That's the Academy itself. Those 6 little bits of information. Obviously, Manage Account is just the standard Manage Account stuff. So the way to think about this, in the Measurement Marketing Academy, you got the courses, the Ask Instructor Support, on-demand workshops, Winner Circle. The courses themselves, you get access to all courses, all updates, all new courses that are released in the future. We do at least an update or a new course, typically every 4 to 6 weeks on average. So at least 10 times a year, you've got updates coming through. All of that total is worth around $3,500 because when we sell these courses individually, which we occasionally will, they are $200 a piece minimum. So that's how we came out with that value. There's at least 20 courses back there already, more to come. So you'd have access to all of that value already each month that you're a member. The Ask Instructor support, easily worth $497 a month. That is unlimited, by the way. You can ask as many questions as you want. There are no limits. We actually encourage that. Ask a bunch of questions. The more questions you ask, the more you're going to learn. So use that system. The on-demand workshop library, there is over 250, I think now, a little over 200 for sure, videos that are now back there. We used to sell these for $20 a piece back in the day when we were first getting started. So that's over $4,000 in additional value that you have in the on-demand library. And then finally, the Winner Circle community. I think like most communities, it's worth at least $97 because you have access to this whole other access of people, of peers who understand measurement marketing, who are doing the same thing you're doing. They have the same goals, but they have different expertise. Maybe you can help out other members as well. So that is the Winner Circle. All told, this is about $8,500 in value in terms of training and support that you have access to each and every month that you're an Academy member. Of course, doesn't cost you $8,500 a month. You can find out the most recent rates if you go to measure.tip/getacademy. We have both monthly and annual options available for you as well. So measure.tip/getacademy will take you to the Measurement Marketing Academy page, and I invite you to become a Measurement Marketing Academy member. With that, we'll go ahead and bring this one officially to a close. This has been Strategy Session using GA4 analysis reports. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.